I think that a part of the political right has certainly fallen into an anti-Semitic place and an anti-Israel place for sure.
Uh-huh.
And I think they should reflect on, among other things, the fact that what has pushed them there. And there are quite a lot of things that have pushed them there. One is that it is, as I said earlier, I mean, it is, to rephrase something, I mean, it's a groove into which you can fall with alarming ease.
Yeah.
It's just there. There's a reason why anti-Semitism is such a long and powerful force across all sorts of different religious, ethnic, political things. It's a groove you can fall into with great ease because it's just there as an omni explanation. You know, everything from why are these things happening globally to why is my life not working out? It's just there for everything. And the reason why it's being pushed at the moment on the American right in particular is a very, very interesting thing. Some of it is simply organized by Qatar, the Iranian revolutionary government, principally by Qatar through funding of universities, institutions, media, and much more. The Qataris are responsible for a lot of pushing around. Again, as often happens, they are actually guilty of the thing that people accuse Israel of. It's like unbelievable compromising funding of the country's enemies and, you know, enemy narratives. So some of it is absolutely pushed. Others is just, it's there as an explanation. I mean, I've been very interested by watching this, and it's difficult to watch because it's hard to see where it becomes serious and actually breaks the surface. I'm like, why should a couple of comedians be having any kind of sway? I was interested watching Piers Morgan a couple of days ago, talking to the international lawyer, a friend of mine, Natasha Hausdorff, and being exceptionally rude and dismissive and disparaging and really unprofessional with her. Really unprofessional, just shouting that she was talking bullshit and not allowing her to finish an answer, and just such ugly hatred that he was expressing towards what was just a different opinion from the one that he's found himself holding. And he turns to comic Dave Smith and he says, you know, these Israelis, so they're treating us like that we're just clowns, you know, sort of thing. Again, your other guest is literally a clown. That's his job. His job is to be a clown. The fact that I don't think he's ever said anything funny to my knowledge is, but it's like there in the name. Your job's to be a clown. You look a little bit at these people and you think, what do I have to pay attention to this? Where does it become serious enough that you have to pay attention? And I think it becomes serious enough that you have to pay attention when this falls into a groove which is just highly recognizable, and if it falls into that groove and it actually has some impact. And it's quite hard in our current media and the social media landscape to work out what is impactful. So that, as I say, there's been a sort of flattening process whereby an international lawyer like Natasha Hausdorff, 20 years experience at the bar, is to be invited on as a guest with a comedian and not just as equals, but actually as her then worse off. Her knowledge and expertise makes her less desirable to listen to than a comedian just riffing on stuff he's read online. And so there's this very weird media and social media landscape we're in. What I can see now is that the elements of the right that are playing with this stuff are doing several things. One is there's definitely an American isolationist thing, which is a recognizable strand, the Buchananite right. It's a long part of American politics of the isolationism of we just don't care about the world. As I've often said, it's a paradoxical position because the people who want America, these people want America to remain the world's superpower and the world's dominant power, but they don't want to be involved in the world. Okay, right, that's their problem to work out. But that isolationist tendency is there. Then you add in various other things, and they include for instance, now a belief that somehow America would not be in trouble in the Middle East or any other region if it weren't for Israel. That America is somehow being tainted by association with Israel. And if we only cozied up to our real friends, Qatar, the Ayatollah, that would all be better. And therefore, Israel becomes like the cause of your problems.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of other things going on as well. One thing that I became very aware of when I was writing my book, The Strange Death of Europe, and trying to get an early sense of European movements of the right, was that there are also attempts to radically rewrite history because of the awkwardness of certain things that happened in history. If you are holding a view about what has gone wrong, I became very alert to right-wing movements on the continent of Europe, for instance, who, when you think like, why do you play around with things like this is on the fringes, but nevertheless, sometimes you sort of need to get a whiff of what is happening on the fringes to see what might come in. There was always a problem on the European right that there were portions of it that would blame Israel and the Jews in particular for mucking up the whole cause of their ethno-nationalist project.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that if the Jews hadn't been massacred in the Holocaust, we could have got on with our ethno-nationalist projects or our right-wing projects or whatever. And the Holocaust and the Jews and the creation state of Israel causes a problem for these people. And you can definitely hear that on parts of the American right now, which is because of the 1940s, our desires and our projects got upset. Yeah. And therefore, what can we do? One is to try to deny that or try to get around it. Another is to play all sorts of games of the Canaanite tendency, which is, if we hadn't have got involved, then we wouldn't be in the problems that we're currently in. If we'd have allowed the Nazis and the communists to fight it out, we wouldn't have, American cities covered with fentanyl-laced drugs and, homelessness and all of these problems. It's a not very well thought out, but existing strain in American conservative right-wing political thought at the moment. Yeah. And I think it's very, very low grade. And besides anything else, is sort of always a futile thing because conservatives in particular always tend to have a tendency to sort of say, where is the moment that the thing went wrong? And that's very interesting as an intellectual exercise. And it's pretty hopeless as a political exercise because there's nothing you can do about it now. Yeah. If only in the War of Independence in America we hadn't done why. Well, yeah, but we're here because history happened, and it's useful and interesting to work out where the things have gone wrong, and it's simultaneously slightly hopeless. But yeah, I'm still really I'm watching this movement on the American right and it's still somewhat unclear exactly what is going on. But then that's because the movement itself is unclear and is trying to work out its own thoughts on the fly. But I think that one other thing I would say is I think a lot of the people who are in a very specific anti-Israel place are there because wittingly or otherwise they've been pushed there by the pressures of the time. Nobody is going to berate a television host or a podcast host for not having said enough about Sudan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no campus will be protested and no graduation ceremony in America will be protested because of a lack of focus in that semester by the university administration on the killing going on in Sudan.
Yeah.
But there are these people from the university heads to the sort of Piers Morgans who will feel like they have to have a stance on like phase 2 of the conflict in Gaza. And they get pushed into it.
Yeah.
Wittingly or otherwise. I think largely unwittingly. Why haven't you spoken about this? Why haven't you condemned Y? Oh, so you're a supporter of Z.
Yeah. As you say, it's very low grade. I find it incredibly worrying. It's hard to work out how influential these strains will become, but there does seem to be a pincer movement of scapegoating at the moment. So the left scapegoats Israel and has been doing for some time, and now sections of the right are doing a similar thing.
Yes.
And the Churchill bashing, this kind of revisionism of history where Churchill was the bad guy and maybe Hitler was misunderstood. I mean, I know that remains a relatively fringe idea, but it's out there and it is incredibly worrying.
And it's not fringe once the world's biggest podcaster has people who believe that on his platform and they talk unchallenged.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you can see there's a guy called Ian Carroll who has been a guest on Joe Rogan. You can see interviews that he does with other people afterwards in which he boasts about how he's slowly bringing in the Jewish question to Joe Rogan's audience. And that's what he calls it, the Jewish question. And he's bringing it softly, and he boasts about this. James Lindsay has reposted the videos on his Twitter, that this guy is like, you can't go straight in, on all of the heaviest anti-Jewish stuff, but you can introduce them to it. You can just ask questions and so on. And he's being congratulated by this anti-Semite for the brilliance of his maneuver in introducing Joe Rogan's audience to anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. And I think like me, Brendan, your view is, if I don't agree with it, I don't agree with it whether my own side is doing it or not. Yeah. And I don't agree with it whether people I like are doing it or not. Yeah. And I don't agree with it whether people with huge platforms that I could do with are doing it or not.
Yeah.
But it's very, very disappointing. I have to put it at its mildest. It is very disappointing that this is going on.
If something's morally wrong, it's morally wrong. And it doesn't matter whether you like the person pursuing it or you don't.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide, or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.